I stood in front of my closet, staring at the simple black dress I'd worn to countless business meetings. Tonight it would serve a different purpose, as a server's uniform at my sister Katherine's celebration party. The irony wasn't lost on me. "Ms. Anderson." My assistant's voice came through the intercom. "The final paperwork from Meridian Technologies just arrived. Would you like to review it before tonight's party?" "Send it up, Jennifer," I replied, a small smile playing at my lips. Meridian Technologies, my sister's pride and joy, the company she'd inherited from our father while I was left to figure things out on my own. The manila envelope sat heavy in my hands as Jennifer delivered it. Inside were the documents that would change everything. Proof that I, Lauren Anderson, the family disappointment, had orchestrated the secret acquisition of my sister's $4 billion tech company. Not that Katherine knew anything about it. In her mind, I was still the failure who'd walked away from the family business 5 years ago to start my own company. Lauren's little startup, she called it mockingly at every family gathering. She had no idea that Anderson Digital Solutions had grown into a tech powerhouse, operating under different names and shell companies. My phone buzzed. A text from Katherine. "Don't be late to my party. The other servers are arriving at 6. Try not to embarrass me." I looked at my reflection in the mirror. No designer labels, no expensive jewelry. Nothing like Katherine's closet full of luxury brands and custom-made dresses. But underneath my modest appearance lay something she couldn't imagine. Power. The party was being held at the Grand Plaza Hotel, where Katherine had rented out the entire ballroom. As I walked through the service entrance, as instructed, I could hear her holding court with her executive team. "Lauren," she called out as I entered, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Right on time. The uniforms are in the back room." I stood there in my black dress, watching her face twist into a smirk. "Oh, you're already dressed for the part. How efficient." Her CFO, Mark Stevens, barely hid his snicker. He'd been instrumental in helping Katherine push me out of Meridian years ago. Tomorrow, he'd be one of the first to go. "Since you're so poor," Katherine continued, loud enough for everyone to hear, "you can be our server for the night. It's the least I can do for family." The room filled with polite laughter. They all knew the story, or thought they did. The younger Anderson sister who'd given up her birthright to chase some entrepreneurial dream, only to end up a nobody. If only they knew what was coming. "The champagne needs to be served precisely at 8, Katherine instructed, checking her diamond-encrusted watch. "That's when I'm announcing Meridian's expansion into Asia. Try not to drop anything." I nodded silently, watching her sweep away in her designer gown. 5 years of dismissal and mockery had led to this moment. 5 years of building my company in secret, watching and waiting for the perfect opportunity. "Lauren?" Jennifer's voice came through my earpiece, disguised as a server's communication device. "The board just signed off on the final documents. The acquisition is complete." I checked my phone, reading the message that would change everything. Transfer of ownership confirmed. Meridian Technologies is now officially a subsidiary of Anderson Digital Solutions. The party was in full swing by 7:30. I moved through the crowd with a tray of champagne, invisible to the guests, but seeing everything. Katherine's executive team, drunk on success and expensive wine, openly discussed confidential projects. Her board members, uncertain about the company's direction but too afraid to challenge her, huddled in corners whispering their concerns. None of them knew that tomorrow morning, everything would change. "Ladies and gentlemen," Katherine's voice rang out across the ballroom at precisely 8 p.m. "If you could all grab a glass of champagne. Lauren, make yourself useful. I have an exciting announcement to make." I distributed the last of the champagne, including a glass to Katherine herself. She didn't even look at me as she took it. "Tonight, we celebrate not just my leadership of Meridian Technologies, but our company's bright future," she began, her voice carrying that familiar note of superiority. "Tomorrow morning, we'll be announcing our expansion into the Asian market, a move that will." My phone buzzed silently in my pocket, the signal. "I'm sorry to interrupt," I said, my voice cutting through her speech, "but I believe there's been a change of plans." Katherine's face darkened with anger. "Lauren, get back to the kitchen where you belong. The help doesn't speak during announcements." I pulled out my phone, pressed a button, and watched as every screen in the ballroom, including the massive display behind Katherine, lit up with the Anderson Digital Solutions logo. "What is this?" Katherine demanded, her champagne glass trembling slightly. "What are you doing?" "Making an announcement of my own," I replied calmly, setting down my serving tray. "As of 10 minutes ago, Meridian Technologies is under new ownership." The room fell silent. Catherine's face went from angry to confused to terrified in the span of seconds. "That's impossible," she whispered. "You're lying? You can't." "Anderson Digital Solutions," I continued, addressing the stunned crowd, "has acquired controlling interest in Meridian Technologies through a series of strategic purchases over the past 6 months. The board approved the final transfer this evening." Mark Stevens, Katherine's CFO, started frantically checking his phone. "This can't be. Anderson Digital Solutions, that's one of the largest tech companies in the country. They're worth roughly $12 billion, I finished for him. Amazing what you can build in 5 years when you're not busy flaunting your success at parties." Catherine's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. The sound echoed through the silent ballroom, punctuating the moment her world began to crumble. "You're lying," she snarled, but her voice trembled. "This is some pathetic attempt to ruin my announcement. Security." I smiled, pulling out a leather portfolio. "Would you like to see the transfer documents? Or maybe the board's unanimous vote? I have it all right here." The room erupted in chaos. Board members huddled in corners, frantically making calls. Executives who'd spent years mocking me suddenly couldn't meet my eyes. Catherine's perfect party was unraveling thread by thread. "This is impossible," Mark Stevens stammered, his face ashen. "We would have known if Anderson Digital was buying shares. We would have seen." "Would you?" I asked mildly. "Like you saw the shell companies acquiring small blocks of stock over the past 6 months? Or the holding corporations gradually buying out minor shareholders? Tell me, Mark, how's that due diligence working out?" Katherine lunged forward, grabbing my arm. "Fix this," she hissed. "Whatever game you're playing, fix it now." I gently removed her hand. "Like you fixed things when Dad died, when you convinced the board I was too inexperienced to share control of the company. Lauren needs to learn responsibility, you told them." "Well, sister dear, I'd say I've learned quite a bit." "Ms. Anderson." Jennifer appeared at my side, no longer playing the role of server. "The transition team is ready to begin first thing tomorrow morning." Catherine's eyes widened. "Jennifer, but you've been working here for 3 years, I confirmed. Amazing how invisible assistants can be when people like you don't consider them worth noticing." The enormity of what was happening finally seemed to hit Katherine. She staggered back, her designer dress catching on a chair. "The Asian expansion. Tomorrow's announcement is cancelled," I finished, "along with several other ill-advised projects you've championed. Did you really think no one would notice the corners you've been cutting? The safety protocols you've been ignoring?" Her face went pale. "You don't know anything about the defective chips you were planning to ship to save costs." I pulled out another document. "Or the whistleblower complaints you've been burying?" "I know everything, Katherine. Every shortcut, every cover-up, every decision that put profits over people." The board members who'd been making calls began to drift closer, their faces a mix of shock and dawning understanding. "Ladies and gentlemen," I addressed them directly, "I know this comes as a surprise. Rest assured, Anderson Digital Solutions plans to restore Meridian to its former excellence. Those of you who've been trying to warn up the company's direction will find a much more receptive audience now." Several board members actually looked relieved. They'd seen the problems brewing under Catherine's leadership but had been powerless to stop her. "You can't do this to me," Catherine's voice cracked. "I'm your sister." "Funny," I replied. "You didn't seem to care about that when you were making me serve drinks at your party, or when you spent the last 5 years telling everyone I was a failure." Jennifer stepped forward with another tablet. "Would you like me to show them the company financials? The real ones?" Katherine lunged for the tablet, but I stepped between them. "Careful, sister. Assault charges wouldn't look good on top of everything else." "Everything else?" Mark Stevens asked nervously. "Oh yes," I smiled. "The SEC would be very interested in some of your recent financial maneuvers. Both of you have been rather creative with the books." The color drained from their faces. They knew I had them. "But why?" Katherine whispered. "Why go through all this?" "Because you never saw me coming," I replied simply. "You were so convinced of your own superiority that you never bothered to look past appearances." The sister in cheap clothes couldn't possibly be a threat, right? I turned to the stunned crowd. For those wondering about your jobs, don't worry. Anderson Digital believes in keeping good people. Well, most good people. I glanced pointedly at Mark. Miss Anderson. Jennifer held out a folder. The press release is ready for your approval. Katherine made one last desperate attempt. The family name. You'll destroy everything Dad built. No, I corrected her. I'm saving what Dad built. You're the one who's been destroying it with shortcuts and corner cutting. Tomorrow morning, Meridian will announce its merger with Anderson Digital. The markets will respond positively because, unlike you, I actually know how to run a technology company. As if on cue, phones around the room began buzzing. The news was already leaking. Security, I called out. Please escort Ms. Katherine Anderson and Mr. Stevens from the building. Their access cards have been deactivated. You can't. Katherine began. I can. I cut her off. And I have. The server you dismissed now owns the company. Ironic, isn't it? As security led them away, I turned to address the remaining guests. I apologize for disrupting the party. Please enjoy the rest of your evening. Tomorrow begins a new era for Meridian Technologies. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. The merger was officially announced, and as predicted, the markets responded enthusiastically. Anderson Digital's reputation for innovation and ethical business practices gave investors confidence that Meridian's problems would be solved. Katherine tried to fight back, of course. She hired lawyers, threatened lawsuits, even attempted to rally family support. But the evidence of her mismanagement was too clear. The board stood firmly behind my leadership. 1 month after the party, I sat in what had once been Katherine's office, reviewing transition reports. The view of the city was spectacular, but I'd replaced her ornate furniture with simple modern pieces. No need for gaudy displays of power when you actually have it. Ms. Anderson. Jennifer appeared at my door. Your sister is here. She's been waiting in reception for an hour. I considered sending her away, but curiosity won out. Send her in. Katherine entered, and I barely recognized her. Gone were the designer clothes and perfect makeup. She looked tired, defeated. The lobby security didn't know who I was, she said quietly. New protocols, I replied, not looking up from my work. All visitors must be cleared, regardless of their last name. She sank into a chair uninvited. I wanted to understand. All these years, watching you struggle. You saw what you expected to see, I said simply. A sister who didn't care about appearances or status. Someone who didn't fit your image of success. We were wrong, she whispered. I was wrong. The company, you've turned it around in just a month. I finally met her eyes. Amazing what happens when you focus on actual business instead of playing CEO. She flinched. I deserve that. I deserve all of it. But Lauren, we're still sisters. Surely that means something. It meant nothing when you were humiliating me, I said calmly. Why should it matter now? A tear slipped down her cheek. Because I've learned. Because seeing what you've built, what you've become, I'm proud of you, Lauren. Even though I don't deserve to be. I stood and walked to the window, looking out at the city where my company had become a major force. Pride is easy when success is visible, Katherine. Would you have been proud of me during the struggle? When I was working 18-hour days, building something real while you mocked my clothes and my car? No, she admitted softly. I wouldn't have been. And that's my shame to carry. I turned back to face her. Mark called yesterday. He wants his job back. And I told him what you told me 5 years ago. Get some real experience first. Stop relying on family connections. She nodded slowly. I've been staying with Mom. My accounts, my assets, are frozen pending investigation. I finished. Actions have consequences, Katherine, even for Daddy's favorite. I pressed a button on my phone. Jennifer, bring in the package for Ms. Anderson. My assistant appeared moments later with a thick envelope. I handed it to Katherine. What's this? She asked, opening it carefully. A chance, I said. A junior position at one of our subsidiary companies. No special treatment, no executive title. A chance to learn the business properly this time. She stared at the papers, then at me. You give me a job. After everything? I'm giving you an opportunity, I corrected her. What you do with it is up to you. But understand this, there will be no shortcuts, no family favors. If you want to succeed, you'll do it the right way. Katherine stood, clutching the envelope like a lifeline. Thank you, Lauren, for the opportunity and for the lesson. One more thing, I said as she reached the door. That server's uniform from your party. I had it framed. It hangs in my private office to remind me that appearances mean nothing compared to what you actually build. After she left, I returned to my work. Anderson Digital had grown beyond my wildest dreams, but success wasn't about proving others wrong, it was about proving yourself right. The company continues to thrive, now one of the most respected firms in the tech sector. Katherine started at entry level, finally learning the business from the ground up. She's actually doing well, now that she's focused on substance over style. And me? I still keep my old laptop from my startup days displayed in my office. The one Katherine used to mock for not being the latest model. It reminds me that true worth isn't measured in designer labels or corner offices, but in what you build and how you build it. Sometimes the best revenge isn't serving someone humble pie. It's making them serve it to themselves, one small bite at a time.